Hey everyone, welcome to another OSR Tabletop with myself, Richard DM Bloodworth, and good to see you all as you're checking in. I know this was kind of an impromptu, and I did not, I did not give you much leeway before, this started. Only probably about an hour and a half or so before I decided to jump in on this, but just wanted to do a real quick couple of announcements. And I am just going to double check here and wait. Like I said, I know I did not give very much leeway as to the fact that I was going to do this live stream. So anyway, let me just double check and see that we are live, in fact, on YouTube at the very least. And if you hear some overplay, I will take care of that very quickly. So, and just double checking. And Skip, Ben, yes, we are live. And so, for those of you jumping in, yes, I am live, and welcome. My ear trumpet has been struck by lightning. Good to see you again. So, just wanted to do a real quick live stream before I head off to the Central New York Role-Playing Game Convention. So this is tomorrow, June 14th and 15th. I know a lot of people are there already. I unfortunately could not do the Friday into Saturday and then into Sunday, time frame. I had too much going on. Sometimes personal life gets in the way, and I had all kinds of things, to do around the house. I did some, had some major construction done on the home, which included refinishing floors and painting 3 rooms and getting all kinds of new furniture and totally gutting the front door of our home, which had a bit of I don't want to say it's dry rot, because it was rotted because the flashing was not fully covering the corners of the double doors entering into the home. So that caused a lot of damage and required the entire thing to be removed, including the baseboards and everything like that, supporting the actual structure and whatnot. So the workers did an incredible job on the floors, the painting of the rooms, the front door, entryway of the home. So the furniture, arrived in phenomenal condition. All the things that, literally during these past 3 weeks or so have been just, almost overbearing as far as the amount of stuff that needed to be done. And the gameplay just didn't happen these past 2 weeks. So that's another thing I wanted to, get back on track with. So, yeah. So, and I'm always looking for the best times to do these, usually 8 o'clock. There's so many people doing live streams at 8 p.m., Eastern time. And I try not to, step on other people's toes, but, I'm assuming that a lot of those people are going to this convention tomorrow, so they're already there. And then, Legion of Myth usually runs something at this time, but I think that he has shifted. Max has shifted his live stream to 1 p.m. Central. All right, so he's moved that really, really early on, and I want to give Max a shout out. I just received 2 items in the mail today from him, so this is the first of them. Is a Megaverse veteran. I've rolled with the best and died like the rest. So I believe this has to do with Palladium Games, and his channel is his and Heathen Dog's channel is Legion of Myth is hugely connected to Palladium Games. He has them on there all the time, and I'm still waiting and really anxious to get my reprintings of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and then all of the other stuff that comes along with that Kickstarter. So really, excited about getting that sometime in the near future, I guess. Yeah, that's a pretty long, I want to say delayed. At this point, I think it's delayed, long delayed Kickstarter. So hopefully it comes out soon. But I wanted to talk about more positive things. I also got a mug. This will actually come very, very in handy. Perfect size for me. This is like the size of a coffee mug that I utilize. So definitely be using that. So anyway, let's see who else we have here. Death Angel's Shadow. Hey, welcome. How's it going? Good to see you. So convention tomorrow. So the convention is the Central New York Role-Playing Game Convention. Roger's doing a phenomenal job in keeping us up to date on everything that's going on. I'm sure that many of the attendees are already there this evening. Like I said, I wish I could have gone, but today was an extremely busy day. Not only did I have to still finalize one of my adventures that I'm running, I was basically converting it from my home game, and this is my Fallout RPG game. I was converting it from my home game, which was not very fleshed out at all, and I had to make it convention wise, and so that's what I have finally finished up. I'm still thankful that it is my evening game, and so I'll have a couple of hours to mess around with it if I need to, but I don't think I will. I think it's ready to go for its first running, and then I'll tweak it throughout the rest of the conventions I have for the rest of the year, and possibly look to move forward with that into 2026, but only by demand. If people want me to run it at a convention, I certainly will consider doing so. But if not, I have plenty of other games that I'm looking to run. I'm also running Shadow Dark tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, that will be my 10 a.m. game. So that'll be the first game. I'm leaving my home around 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:15-ish or so. It takes about 2 hours and 45 minutes to get there. My game is at 10, so I'm hoping to get there just before 9 o'clock. Give myself a little time to decompress and get ready, run that first session. That hopefully I'll be able to check into my room, at some point. Now, that adventure is Shards of Ymir. It's an adventure that I wrote, actually now almost 10 runnings ago for convention play. So I think I wrote it about 2 years ago, and I've been running it at conventions ever since. And tomorrow will be the last time that I run that adventure at a convention, unless there's like a popular demand for me to bring that one back in as well. And believe it or not, I do get requests for me to run things at conventions. So I'm open to that kind of thing, but I'd really like to expand my my convention play to some other game systems. So I have never run Castles and Crusades at a convention, and that's something that I'm changing with ShireCon in September. So ShireCon in September, I hope to have the new starter set in hand. That comes with several adventures meant to introduce players to the Siege engine, which is the engine of both Castles and Crusades and Amazing Adventures, both Troll Lord Games properties. And so once I get that, and that should come sometime in August, and I may actually switch up the adventure that I was planning on running, my own written adventure for September, and instead swap that out with the adventure that comes with it. So look to introduce more players. Now I'm going to be doing that as part of Endless Worlds. So Endless Worlds is the organized play of Troll Lord Games, and so I've signed up for the program. I sent out the flyer for it, for the game I'm running on at ShireCon in September, and I've registered that game session with Troll Lord Games. So waiting for all of those pieces to come together, and then I will certainly be running Castles and Crusades as part of my 2026, going straight through to at every convention. I'll run at least one session of Castles and Crusades, and I'll be looking to bring other castle keepers or game masters of Castles and Crusades together in order for us to set up a true organized play where we have multiple GMs, multiple sessions going over the course of a convention, and that I will be looking to do at Rising Phoenix in April. That's in Milford, Massachusetts. April, I believe Scott just recently put out, like yesterday, just put out the actual dates of the convention. And so I will be bringing that up in a few moments. I just have to look it up really fast. But anyway, let's see other comments that are in here. Yeah, that amount of repair, it was a whole combination of things. It was like everything by itself was actually not very inexpensive, but put together, everything, probably ran a little over 10,000. But the home is 20 years old. This is the first major investment that we put into the house in 20 years. So in the aggregate of our time, not very expensive if you spread it out over all of those years. And these were all things that had to be done, so the floors, the wood floors had to be replaced in the sections that they were. The front door had to be replaced, with that kind of a rot that was taking place on the door's base and everything like that. So yeah, this is all stuff that had to be done. So when your home is like 20 years old and you start seeing, what, it needs a new painting, paint job, it needs settling cracks and stuff like that in sheetrock, and everything have to be spackled over, and some tiles have to be readjusted or replaced or whatnot. So yeah, it takes a lot of little tweaking here and there, and it does pile up. It does pile up pretty fast. So anyway, had a friend get murdered at a convention. That's insane. I'm sorry to hear that. The worst thing I ever had to deal with at a convention is coming home with the flu A, which was like even worse than coming home with COVID, to be honest with you, because I was laid up for 10 days and I felt like absolute shit. So, but yeah, having a friend murdered at a convention, that's crazy. I'm really sorry to hear that. Let's see, I'm trying to get some folks to play, so I'm teaming up with others to bring Summer of Siege to some nearby FLGSs. Yeah, I'm really looking to do that more so at conventions, because my most local FLGS just closed. The owner the owner was fairly young woman, and she was, she just had a baby in like the last 4 months, and it was the gaming shop that I got Dragonbane from, and then like literally like 3 days later they were shut down, and I was like, oh, okay, that kind of explains why I got it like 40% off. I got the Dragonbane box set for like $29, and they literally shut down, and kind of negotiated their way out of their lease, because he just couldn't handle running the shop, and taking care of a 3-month-old baby and everything. And on top of that, um, because they focused mostly on cards, obviously, like, whether it be Magic the Gathering or Lorcana or any of those. But from what I understand, they were having quite a bit of an issue with theft, and I guess when you're dealing with a very small shop with maybe only two employees at any given time in there, and just not the sense of really keeping track, as best they could with just two people. And yeah, they had a significant issue with people stealing cards. So yeah, that's a real shame. So we have a date for one already. Well, that's cool. Yeah, and Summer of Siege is another thing, that I wanted to bring up, because yeah, that's a big push for Troll Lord Games, is to get everybody just engaged in their stuff. Troll Lord Games has been just phenomenal these past several months with their response to the threat of tariffs, and they've been tariff proof since 2004. That's when they shifted their limited printing production from Canada to the United States, in their own shop, basically. And now, as a response to the newest round of tariffs, what they decided was that they were going to expand their printing capacity by building their own facility. So they bought land. They have a facility that is a structure that's something like a 4,000 square foot structure that will expand their ability to print not just the books that they were doing, but hardcovers, as well as printing the boxing that they would need for like their starter kits and whatnot. So yeah, and then they even said, I had Stephen on the channel, and Stephen Chenault was talking about it, that they will reach out, or allow other publishers that are in real need to have something published here in the United States, to reach out to them, and to see if they can negotiate some kind of a deal where Troll Lord Games will publish or will print their works. So yeah, a really community minded company. You can really find no better, to be honest with you, no better publishing company out there than Troll Lord Games, in my opinion. And it's just awesome what they're doing, and what they have been doing for a long, long time. Also, Troll Lord Games it has a direct line to the Gary Gygax estate. So, they are truly the standard bearer of Gary Gygax's legacy. If you are a big Gary Gygax fan, then Troll Lord Games is the only place you could really go to start to see some of his works being reprinted from the Gygax estate. And that's going to include the reprinting of the Gord novels, and there most likely will be tabletop role playing through the Siege Engine, through Castles and Crusades, um, iterations of the Gord novels as well. So they're going to gamify the Gord novels, and you'll be able, whether it be a setting piece or just a series of um, adventure modules connected to his exploits would be awesome. Um, so looking forward to all of that stuff as well, and including, they mentioned audiobooks, which converting the Gord novels to audio is right up my alley, because I am I still, limited time that I do work. I'm still commuting like an hour and 10 minutes or so each way. And so, that gives me 6 hours a week of listening time. And in most cases, novels run, anywhere from like 9 to like 14 hours or so. So, that would be a good 2 weeks worth of listening while I'm going to work. So, yeah, I love that stuff. So I will really, really looking forward to that. It's like one of those take my money, please situations. Hey, that's cool. Yeah, Chattanooga. So, yeah. You should definitely try a Troll Lord Games. Troll Lord Games does what is it called, the Trolls Con or something like that. It's right there in Arkansas. And if you're in the Tennessee area, I'm guessing that's not too far for you to travel to. But I would definitely look into that, um, and definitely try to hit you know being there. I'm assuming that you're in Tennessee, so if you're in there, you're probably not too far from like the Ohio cons and like maybe Pennsylvania, like Philadelphia, or those conventions too. And then going the other way, like Texas, so North Texas con would be another great one for you to check out as well, which was just this past weekend. Yeah, cards are where the money. Yeah, the combat collectible cards are where the money is at. Um, I've never really been into those cards. That's not something I've ever really gotten into at all. It was a bit out of my age range. I'm going to say, I'll be honest about that. Um, by by 2000, that was, I was already 33, by then. So kind of out of that range for me. Mythicon West, Huntsville Game Expo. Um, yeah, are they Alabama or are they Arkansas? Now I'm wondering. uh, Huntsville and Asheville and Charlotte is a tad further. Yeah. Um, but yeah, Chuck's an awesome guy too. Oh my gosh. Um, I try to catch his live streams every chance I get. So I have no desire to buy, sell, or trade or play any CTGs. Yeah, I'm the kind of the same way. First of all, it's too expensive to get into at this point. It would be almost like me getting into wargaming. It's just at this point in time, I have no desire to do such a huge outlay of money just to break into a new hobby. More power to those who do. Hey, how's it going, Don? I'm assuming that you're there already. Oh, no, you're not going to be at Central New York Con. I don't believe. I think you will be at Shire Con though, so I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Um, and you have your convention coming up next year. Again, I wish it didn't conflict with my other convention. Let me get that. Let me get when that is. Let me get the dates of Rising Phoenix. Let's see, Rising Phoenix. So Rising Phoenix, and so it is going to be April 24th through the 26th. So Rising Phoenix, April 24th through the 26th. And I am committed to going to that convention. I had promised Scott that I would be going, and it's the 5th year of that convention, and so that will definitely be one of my main conventions next year. I am not going to Page 3 due to that con, and and I won't be able to make Wizard Con this year, but 2026, but 2027, I'm going to alternate. And that's one thing that I've been saying, and I've been, running it past my wife as well. It's like, listen, I'm not going to go to, 3 conventions that require me to be, sleeping away from home for 3 days a piece or anything like that. I am just going to do these more localized cons, and then maybe just one travel away con per year, and see how that works out and everything. So you are definitely on my target for 2027. And I've never been to Michigan other than just a stopover on the way to Chicago. So at least I think I'm pretty sure that was Michigan that I stopped off in. Not sure where. What's that called? Mitchell Field. And then it wasn't into Chicago. It was Mitchell Field, and then from Mitchell Field I went to Milwaukee for that was Gen Con 18. So in like 1985. Let's see. I'm hoping to go to EGG Con next year. Yeah, those conventions are just like such a long haul for me, and those ones in the Midwest. And hey, thank you very much for the thing. Oh, I'm clicking on the wrong space here. So thanks very much for that. My ear trumpet has been struck by lightning, and congratulations to Mark Morrison. So let's see what else. So I'm not crazy enough to go down to Dragon Con. Way too much, way too expensive, way too overwhelming. Yeah, that's the other thing that keeps me away from big cons is like I find that once they get much above 600, I start feeling like it's too big for me. Kalamazoo. So not far from the Kalamazoo Air Museum, very cool military air museum. Yeah, if I do go, and let me see, when I go in 2027, let's see, Kalamazoo. Da, 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 da. Da, da, da. I am just looking up real quick. Why isn't it doing that? I'm trying to do. I spelled that right. Why didn't it come up on my MapQuest? All right, trying to go to. No, why is this like this? No. let's see, it is 11 hours and 34 minutes. So it's an 11-hour drive for me. I could probably pull that off. I might fly. I'll see. I'll see what the airfare is in comparison. Yeah, 8 hours is not bad at all. That's definitely a day before day before the con kind of thing, and then you can settle in. 11 and a half hours is, I could do it. Um, I could do it. Let's see. Hey, Chubby, I'm pretty sure you're going to Central New York tomorrow. Um, at least rumor had it that you're running something there. So I am bringing my Shadow Rim book with me for you to sign, and I'll be looking to catch you at a convention where I can sit in on one of your games. I'm really looking forward to that. Hopefully, you go to ShireCon. That would be awesome. And then ShireCon, I'm definitely looking to do more playing than I am running. Only going to look to run one game session at ShireCon, and then the rest of the time I'm looking to play. So definitely looking forward to meeting you there. If you are in fact going, I'm pretty sure I heard that you were. So. Well, you're a lucky man, Little Britain, that you have a gaming wife. I mean, I'm very lucky with my wife, but she is like not a gamer whatsoever. So it occasionally causes issues. What about the Burning Wheel Con, October 31st? Hudson, New York City. Well, I didn't know about that one. Hudson, New York City. I don't know about that convention. Yeah, your name. Yeah, your name definitely did come up. So, I thought you were going to be there. All right, now I don't have to bring my book. uh, Hopefully, you can get to ShireCon then. All right, in September. Yeah, I know Chuck is going to go to quite a few actually. He was mentioning that this morning on his Twitch stream. Yeah, I'm really excited to start digging into Shadow Rim and everything. I am currently running a Saturday Shadow Dark campaign, and we're running through the Cursed Scrolls. Uh, for as long as they take to get through them. And then my next one after Cursed Scrolls 3, which is the current one I'm running, I'm definitely going to switch up and pick up a Shadow Rim campaign with them as well. Always looking to run something that was set in the Skyrim setting. And even though there are RPGs out there, Shadow Dark is such an easy game system to run that I'm looking forward to doing that. Yeah, that's a lucky thing, like I said. Yeah, yeah, it's like I said, that's a big plus, especially when you like share hobbies and stuff like that. I mean, my wife and I are certainly balancing out, both sides of those things. She's much more sensible in things. She has a lot more common sense than I do. That's for hell, damn sure. Um, Even though we're both in education, or at least I retired, but she's still in education, although not a teacher. She's a teacher's assistant, and so we both had, at one time we were both in the same kind of situation with same vacations and that kind of thing. So that's pretty cool. I'll be listening for any news of your group's fate in Shadowrun. Very interested in how it plays out for them. Yes, I will be. I will be detailing that once they do begin. She likes playing gnomes too. Yeah, I don't think that's not uncommon. I think women tend to like to play elves, halflings, gnomes, those kinds of things. A little less so dwarves or humans and such, but that's just my own personal experience. Yeah, common sense was nothing. No, no, I was not. I was not that kind of thing. I needed my wife for. She's very, very level-headed. Um, Not that I'm not like, well, when I say level-headed, I mean she she has common sense, like savvy as to how to navigate the world better than I do. But she's much more hot-headed than I am. She's Sicilian, 100% Sicilian. Me, I'm only half, and and I take a very, very calm tone to everything. Nothing shakes me. So I get that from my father. My mother was very German, so German and Ukrainian actually. So she was very just rough, rough around the edges. So let's see. Note about the convention. Unsure you get Tenkar to do a video with you on the convention and how it's going. I know Roger really has put the work into it. Yes. Well, I have, and quite a number of us have, like a 4-hour block. So like my game tomorrow morning is from 10 to 2. And then from 2 to 6, I have nothing, other than just going around and meeting people and doing that kind of thing, checking into the room, resting a little bit, and then, grabbing a bite to eat. And then I'm running my 6 o'clock game from 6 to 10 o'clock. And I'm sure that there'll be some stuff afterwards and everything. And then in the morning, I'll be sitting in Joe Block's his skirmish war game that he's running in the morning. Now, hopefully, I'm really, really hoping that starts earlier than the 10 o'clock listing, or it ends sooner than the 12 o'clock, because it is Father's Day and my kids would like to go out to dinner and everything. And I'm hoping not to get home much later than 2 o'clock in the afternoon or so. So hopefully that's a pretty quick turnaround on that thing. But see, I got to play that by ear. I'm also kind of concerned about the weather, which is not supposed to be great this weekend. So we'll see how that goes as well. But yeah, I definitely will hook up with Eric at some point during the con, and yeah, maybe we'll do a joint video or whatever. I will be there doing some videos while I'm there during that 4-hour span. That's for certain. Oh, we're up on our 25th year. And this is, yeah, we were a millennial wedding. And so we're up on our 25th year. So in just 11 days is our 25th anniversary. Well, congratulations on that too. And seduction rolls against Angel's Shadow must be made at disadvantage. Joe ran that at WizardCon, and it is an amazing game. Yeah, if I for whatever reason I can't make it this Sunday morning, then I will definitely get into that at ShireCon, because I know he runs it at ShireCon as well. And like I said, this upcoming ShireCon, I'm looking to do much more gaming than running. So let's see what else has been going on. So, so in other gaming news and everything, there was some talk about going back on the topic of tariffs and everything, and I'm glad Don is here because Don probably knows much more of it than I do. Um, I guess it was about a day or two that they were talking that some kind of a deal was hammered out between the United States and China. As far as tariffs are concerned, it's like 10% from China and 55%. So it's not the 145% anymore. Um, but I believe it's going to be 55% tariff, which I know is higher than it was, but hopefully that at least becomes something uh, a little bit more predictable. And it's not you know, um, but there are other avenues that hopefully, some of the gaming companies start picking up on. Um, I heard one person talking, and this could just be something that they're hoping to do or whatnot, but they were talking about setting up like a freaking like a 3D printing lab, basically, you know, a, like an industrial building with just nothing but 3D printers and just printing out, stuff as like a startup business kind of thing. So I like I said, I know that you, Don, have a lot more experience with that kind of thing of what that would be, what that would actually take in order to do. But that will hopefully be something that will help some people and some companies be able to weather the short term and then start making plans to move as much as they can here to the US. So I'm hopeful that that helps the gaming industry as much as possible. Yeah. So let's see what Don say here. They supposedly worked out some kind of a lower tariff deal. We found a US based paper stock supplier, so tariffs are no longer a major thing for us. Well, yeah, that's awesome. And again, I would certainly reach out to Trollord Games, especially once they get their new facility up and see what can be done, in conjunction with them as well. Um, all my books are hand sewn by enslaved. So, well, you see, and that's the other thing is that print on demand. Print on demand is all local anyway. So, and that might be a solution for many of these companies as well. I'm getting into my convention slash um, vacation mode of having a little sip of rum before my trips. We have a large format 3D printers. We use them for our minis and our a mini line we're about to announce. Cool. Now like, is the technology dramatically different for printing dice, or making, custom dice or that kind of thing, or even just generic regular dice? Um, because that's another major component for a lot of these tabletop role playing games, obviously, is the dice. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's what a lot of I mean, when you buy books on Amazon, they're all print on demand. You're all getting them from local printing. Yeah, dice have to be high impact, and the resins for 3D printing are just not robust enough. Yeah, I figured it had to be a slightly different process. Trying to think of it that way. So, the other thing that I had said, and I didn't mean to come off as very cynical at the time, but I have sets of dice that are 45 years old. So even if the cost of a set of dice had tripled or quadrupled, when you think about the longevity of these things, you think about the longevity of your books and your, even your box sets and your, soft cover, hardcover, whatever. Um, even cards. If you think about the longevity of them, this is not a recurring cost that you're going to have with a very low durable items. These are high durability items that are going to last you um, at least 10 years, if not, many decades longer than that. And dice, forget it. You could, literally rolling dice from my 1981 box set. So it's it's certainly not a kind of thing that, yeah, if I had to pay $40 for a set of 7 die, for any tabletop role playing game, it's it's not something I'm going to have to lay out every single, every 6 months or every year or even every 10 years. So now you're starting to see that your cost over time is, $4 a year, if they last for 10 years, and much less than that when you start thinking about the durability of these things. So and same thing with books. I mean, books for the most part are going to last for a long time. um I know that for a while there were a couple publishers that their books were falling apart after just a couple of years, but even then, with the pages slipping out, they're still usable. Looks like hell, but they're still usable. And when the binding is totally broken, that's when you make your copies, and you make them PDF copies of them anyway. So, but again, I know I'm talking as just a consumer, So I'm not a publisher. I'm not a 3D printer. I'm not a game manufacturer. I'm just talking from the perspective of a consumer, and I've always said I would prefer to buy U.S. I would prefer to spend more for U.S. and even more so being a union person myself, I would support union labor at even higher cost. So it's like, I'm still of the generation where it was like, you know made in the USA kind of thing is my preference anyway. And it's been hard. I've been trying to find a U.S. Army veteran hat that is not made in China. And even though this one is officially licensed, and I got rid of my old one because it was falling apart, but I was like, this is officially licensed and still made in the People's Republic of China, although it's designed in the USA, which is bullshit. So I've been looking around for, an actual U.S. Army veteran hat made in the United States. If you're aware of one, please put a link or just put the name of the company that makes it, because I even found a New York company that was like, oh yeah, we're a New York company just outside like Syracuse, New York. And we're making these hats and blah, 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 and there's U.S. Army hats and all kinds of stuff. I was like, oh, cool. And then it's like, you read the fine print, it was like, products actually made in China. I was like, well, that's a bummer. I was like, you're here in the United States, you're here in New York State, and you're still bringing them over from China. So, but I'm glad to hear that you're no longer, potentially going to be harmed by the tariffs. So very, very good to hear. Let's see. Well, this one doesn't say this shirt that I just got, um, but this was a gift. So let's see where this was made. It doesn't say yet. It's probably someplace. Um, I know my Castles and Crusades T-shirts were made in Honduras, so I don't know what kind of a tariff were put on those at all. I will get 100 hours of use out of this thing, but I can justify spending $5 or more. Some gamers, yeah, yeah, it's like crazy. It's like you know, and 100 hours of use that's a video game. You know what I'm saying? It's like a tabletop role playing game is going to last you 10,000 hours. So yeah, it's just a bizarre thing. It's a bizarre thing when you realize that they're just not willing to spend money on the hobby, and that goes back even before any of this tariff talk and everything. I know, and it was one of the things that Wizards of the Coast CEO at the time, Cynthia Williams, she was like, nobody buys these books. It was like maybe the game master, the dungeon master buys the books, and nobody else buys these books. And then when I was talking to my niece, who was in college at the time, and really big with a lot of D&D stuff, a lot of 5e and everything like that. And when I was purging my collection of Wizards of the Coast stuff, and especially 5e, I brought her the books, and I was like, here's the core 3 books. I was like, they're first printing, so don't get rid of them, because they have some names in there that have been since removed. So they are, going to eventually be collectible. And I gave her the 4 books that I had. I had the Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and the Monster Manual, as well as the Sword Coast guide. All right, and she was so excited because she was like, I'm the first person at the college that actually has the books. Everybody else is just using photocopied, copies of just the sections of some of the books. And that was across her entire college. And she said there were literally, there were literally like 100 players, in her on her college campus, in the dorms and everything like that, and not a single one of them had the books. I was like, yeah, that's the that's the dynamic that I kept on hearing over and over again, was that players just don't own the books. They're just sharing off photocopies of them. And the other thing about the dynamic of the player base was that they were finding that, and again, this is coming from Wizards of the Coast, and I guess they did like a demographics and testing out the industry for them. And there's a huge drop off in the player base from 25 to like 35. That 10-year gap, there's a huge drop off. And then after 35, they were starting to see some people coming back to the hobby once again, and really mirrors my own experience with gaming, where I had left the tabletop role playing gaming around the age of 22 when I entered into the military, and for some reason, I think my unit was tended to be a little bit older, and it was mostly police. I was in a military police unit, so from 1990, till about 2000, there was I didn't see anybody in my unit um, playing tabletop role playing games. Um, there was, we were playing PlayStation, we were playing sports games, we were doing that kind of stuff, and there was just no there was just nothing along those lines. And then, I got out of the military in 99. And so by 2000, that's when MMOs were starting to explode around 2000 and such. I mean, a little bit earlier than that, but MMOs were starting to become the big thing. And I was involved with MMOs for about 15 years before I moved back to tabletop role playing games again. So that would be around 2015. And I started getting back into the hobby. And then boom, I was like, all right, let me just replace everything I used to have and buy new stuff that's coming out now, and got, went full in on it, for, these past 10 years. So yeah, I definitely had a very similar, experience with that mid 20s or early 20s to, early 30s, just nothing involved with the tabletop role playing hobby. It was all computers and consoles and that kind of thing. So anyway, yeah, yeah. So let's see. I made two products for Axe 2 that are settings, but player facing. So every player can buy a copy, and it represents what they already know about the world they live in. Take that, Cynthia. Yeah. I have to get back to my Axe coverage. Um, you know, Absolutely beautiful books. You can see them right there behind me down there. Those three black books there. And I have to get back into digging into those. And I am going to probably steal from Axe the the domain play for Castles and Crusades, because that's the one thing. Castles and Crusades doesn't have all that much in the way of domain play, and Axe is just probably one of the best game systems out there for them. So I'm looking to kind of cram them two together. But I do want to spend some time with Axe as far as the adventure gaming with it as well. In truth. So let's see what else has been going on. So again, convention tomorrow is the Central New York Role Playing Game Convention, the inaugural year. Roger, if you're going to be, well, you're probably not watching this. You're probably partying right now, at the hotel already. But these just went off. They just stopped the pre-buy of these yesterday, I believe. So, but you could still, I think, get a badge showing up in person. So it still is possible to go there. Ever play Warhammer Fantasy or 40K? I played Warhammer Fantasy back in the mid 80s when it first came out, and I love the aesthetic of the book. I love the art. But it was too war gamey for me. It really did strike me as being something that required the figures, the miniatures, and running with miniatures and that kind of thing, including like facing and all kinds of stuff. And it was really wargaming, and so that was something that I am tempted to buy the newest edition of it, or buy that edition back then, on eBay, just to put it on my shelf, because I'll be like, all right, this is something that was something I had owned back then, and I read through it back then, but we never played it, and I just, there was something about it that it just turned me off from it. I think it was too war gamey for me, and very similar actually to OD&D, and you needed chainmail in order to run it, to its full usage of it. So yeah, that just was never my thing. And looking at wargaming now, like I said earlier on, it's not the kind of hobby that I want to just pick up on, because it's not, I just don't want to spend that kind of money. The entry level for wargaming is very, very high. Um, and believe it or not, it's less so an entry cost for tabletop role playing games. It's like that's why I'm a big fan of OSR as well, and even some indie games are fairly inexpensive. But OSR, there are many options that are under $20 in OSR, and that's what I really like about the OSR, is that you don't have that blockage of entry level play. Now, I also recently delved into getting Daggerheart, and I know a lot of people were like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that you actually bought that game." Um, I had others that say, "Oh, it's not a game; you know, it's a it's a human improvement engine, and it's not meant to function as a game." I've had others that say, "Well, it's not really a role playing game. It's certainly not OSR. It's a narrative focused game, and you're not supposed to gamify it. You're supposed to be telling these collaborative stories." And you know um I'm just looking at it from a gamer's perspective, and just looking at it from the perspective of, I want role playing more so than I want storytelling. I think storytelling comes out of role playing, not vice versa. I'm saying that, not. I think that the story just happens, organically, from playing with your friends, and getting into your characters and immersing yourself in what's going on in the situation, and not trying to create the story, but letting the story happen. That's the best way I can explain my own philosophy of what we're doing when we're, at least at my table. Some of the best stories that came out of my long campaigns were things that I did not anticipate. The players didn't really anticipate. It was not something that we plotted or even nurtured. It just happened, and then we ran with it, sure, and then I started, all right, well, let's see where this thread can take, where they choose to take this thread. I tried to enhance it when it did happen, but ultimately, like in our 2 years and 3 month long AD&D first edition campaign, the the name of the campaign didn't happen until like the fourth month that we were in, and then I was like, all right, you're going to be the Keepers of Queskaton, because we started with B1, and so, and then the underlying, big bad guy, and the main thrust of the whole campaign didn't really start until that fourth month. It kind of had whisperings of it throughout for like the next 10 months. And then in the last, I'd say 4 or 5 months, is when I started to see the potential closing of this campaign as this will be a great, closer for the thing. And even then, there was still some parts of it that were developing over those last couple of months. And then the climax of the um, of the campaign was just a revelation, just for myself and for them, because then they realized that was like, oh my gosh, this whole thing was like the master plan. And I was like, well, you see, it's exact opposite. Actually, it wasn't a master plan at all. It just organically evolved. And I don't think from the section of the flow of the game from Daggerheart that that will happen. I don't think that you'll have any kind of an organic uh, revelation, at the end of a campaign. It's all derived. I also don't see that a campaign will last for a very long time with that kind of a system either. But I haven't really started digging into the mechanics of the game, and how do I separate the mechanics from the game from the flow of the game. And once I figure out how to make that separation, say, well, disregard all of the advice that they're giving here and just look at the game mechanics and run it like an OSR game, just without the rules mechanics of an OSR game. Um, that will, I think, potentially, at least in my mind, for me, save that game system, because there's elements of that game system I really do like. I like the use of the cards. I like I like the dice mechanics. I like the what the hell is it called? Hope and fear die, and having the two different die rolls, and you're weighting the outcome not only based on whether or not you were successful or not, but then which way was it leaning? Was it leaning towards hope, or was it leaning towards fear? And I like that mechanic, but I only like it as a narrative device to enhance what happens, not to generate what happens. And I think that's where they lose track, because if the narrative is the narrative that the players at the table, including the game master, goes outside of what they were hoping for, then do they disregard what the dice actually said? And I think that's where they're leaning towards with it. And so that's what I didn't really like that idea. Um, I find it hard to watch their play sessions. I mean, bits and pieces of it, sure, but they're too grab ass, for lack of a better word, term for it. I mean, they're too out of character. It's like, for a whole bunch of voice actors, they're constantly talking outside of character and whatnot, and it's not a very immersive thing. Now, I'm not saying that they're not talented in what they're doing or whatnot. They're very entertaining, I guess, but if you're looking at it as a gamer and you're looking for gaming, that's not what you're going to get from it. I did enjoy Vox Machina. I enjoyed the cartoon, really well. So I liked, especially the first season, of the cartoon. The second season, I'd have to watch it again just to get an idea of it once again. But in comparison to like Fallout was awesome. I loved Fallout. But Vox Machina was good, and we'll see where they go with the third season of it. But I'll have to watch that second season again. I think it was not as good as the first, that's for certain. These modern games end in boredom because there is no real challenge, and thus no satisfaction can be achieved by overcoming that challenge. Well, I'm pretty sure, though, at least I heard that some of the player characters in the Age of Umbra have already died. I mean, I watched about an hour of the first episode of it, and I haven't gotten back to it since then. So I think that was like 2 weeks ago. But from what I understand, they've already had a couple character deaths. So that's not, now, was that contrived? I don't know. Is that their statement to say, oh, you see, it's a real game, it's a real experience, but or was it just a matter of fact that some of the player characters did die already? So I'll have to try to check some of those things out, and I'll have to look to see. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think at least one player character has died already, and by the third episode or so, if not more. to be fair, I do not really enjoy watching others play. I want to be running the game. So, lol. Yeah, and me too. It's like, I'm going to spend 3 hours doing something. I'm going to spend 3 hours watching somebody else play. I'm going to run a game. That's about when I run a game session anyway, is about 3 hours time. So, yeah. You've run 5e for years, killed several characters, and definitely challenged them a lot. But it's a lot of work for me. Yeah, it's like, yeah. My biggest problem with 5e was the death saves and the multiple levels of action that the multi-layered action economy that the player characters have just make them far too far too functional in a pinch, and too many second chances, too many second wins, too many spells that counter anything that has happened negatively in the circumstances and whatnot. Um, Short rests, giving back too much of their whether it's their hit points, their spell usage, their whatever, just way too much, too easy. It was D&D on training wheels, and then after several additions, supplements, beyond starting with Tasha's and moving forward, it became less D&D, to the point that it was no longer, even at least in my mind, it was no longer recognizable as Dungeons and Dragons. It was just something else. It was Wizards of the Coast fantasy, role-playing game, 5th edition at that point. Yeah, you could dig it, trend. Yeah. All right. So the hardest part about, let me read it this way. The hardest part about gaming is getting 5 people into a room at the same time. This is the hardest part. 5e made that part easier. Yes, you certainly could attract more players to 5e, but then again, I've never had a problem filling a table, virtually filling a table with any game I was running. When I ran, when I run, if I put on Roll20 D&D back me, I will fill that table in a heartbeat. I have no problem filling a table with AD&D First Edition. Geez, I started off my campaign, my last campaign of AD&D First Edition, that I started in 2023, or 2022. I started one in 2022 when I had 12 players start. Ran with 10 players, from the first session on through for about a year. And then it finally came down to about 8, where it finished up its last year and a half, with 8 players, and so that was a full table from start to finish, and even almost a double sized table from start to finish. Um, when I ran Castles and Crusades, full table. When I run Shadow Dark at a convention, full table every time. Waiting lists sometimes, with my games at conventions as well. Game systems that have had a harder time getting a lot of people at the table. I've run Blade Runner. Believe it or not, it's hard to get. It's hard to get more than 3 players, but luckily the game is built around just 4 players. So and that game is really designed for 4 players as well. So I'm sure that online I would fill up a table with 4 players very, very easily. So that dynamic has changed, where if you're going to, depends on the conventions you're going to, but for the most part, um, your tables are going to fill up if you're running other things. Like I said, Shadow Dark fills up really, really fast. Oh, I can't do 6 hours. I'm too old to run 6 hours straight anymore. My back starts spazzing out. It's like even my live streams, I keep my live streams around 2 hours at the most. And my game sessions are about 3 hours. I have a hard time. And convention games are between 3 and 4 hours anyway. So conventions are a good measure of what works for a good game session. And yeah, 3 hours are my kind of sweet spot. I think that that's the best kind of session to run. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The best alternative to 5e, in my opinion, if you're looking for something a little bit closer along the lines of like an AD&D, I would go with Castles and Crusades. Shadow Dark is an awesome replacement for either of those. If you want something a little bit more crunchy and a little bit more crazier, you would go with DCC Dungeon Crawl Classics or something along those lines. Hyperborea is awesome. I've played it, never run it, but I've played it a couple times now. That's really good. But I would think that your best transition from 5e, if you still want a real Dungeons and Dragons, like a true Dungeons and Dragons feel, I would say Castles and Crusades. If you want something that's a little bit more rules light and but still very dynamic and fast paced, I would go with Shadow Dark. And again, like I said, if you want something that's weird or over the top, DCC is another great system as well. Let's see what I mean. You're welcome to disagree with me or add your own to that list. Really depends on it really depends on what you're looking for. Like if you're looking for high level play, then I think Acts 2 is going to be right there in that conversation. I'm going to check out Dragon Slayer tomorrow and see how that, see what that looks like and everything. I'll probably come home with a copy of Dragon Slayer. Greg Gillespie will be is at the convention already. I believe he got there this evening as well, or sometime today as well. So I'm definitely going to be checking out his stuff, and hopefully, if he goes to ShireCon, I'll be able to sit in on one of his games as well. Check out Tenkar's Tavern, where he was talking about playing in Gillespie's game at North Texas, and he's he's a pretty, I don't want to use the word strict, but he's a very serious game master. Your characters will die in his games if you're doing anything that's kind of off the not the brightest things to do. Yeah, I mean, I don't have that many gamers around me at all, and and what few there are, I mean, we're all adults. We all have you know jobs and families and all kinds of time constraints and everything that I've found that just playing online is much easier. Yeah, they still have organized play, but there's no buzz about it at all. Like I can't tell you the last time I would say that there was a buzz for Pathfinder. Just like I really don't see a buzz for 5e 2024 either. I don't know anybody that's excited about running that system. All right, and it's dwindling at conventions. It's absolutely just falling off the face. It is getting passed up by other systems. Again, Shadow Dark is big at conventions right now. Castles and Crusades, Troll Lord Games is trying to expand their convention visibility with their organized play. Um, and then we'll see what other games sprouts up. I know some people are like, oh, well, Daggerheart is going to pop up all over the place. That remains to be seen. I want to see it. I know it's selling well. Like I said, I bought a copy myself just to look at it and to learn about the system. Will I ever run it? Probably not. You know, but I certainly want to see what the system is all about and everything. I don't think it's my kind of game, and if I tried to convert it to my play style, which is a much more OSR play style, then the people that are big fans of the game will probably be like, "Oh, you just don't want to run this the way that it's meant to be run," and that's probably true. And they probably would have a hard time keeping players that are looking for that kind of a game experience, because that's not what I'm looking from it. So, uh, but I'm glad I have it. It's absolute beautiful quality book and everything like that. Um, Physical quality of the book, and like I said, I need to dive deeper into the rules. I can't get people to play Pendragon and a few others I could mention. The only time I do Pendragon is at conventions. Yeah, and convention play is a different kind of play. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, how many people are running Blade Runner in their home games? I don't think very many. But I've run it at conventions and I've seen it run at conventions. Same thing with like Weird Frontiers or Savage Worlds has a lot of games being run at conventions as well. So Deadlands and Weird Frontiers and or DCC. I'm sorry, I just conflated the two. It's not Deadlands is the Weird Frontiers of Savage Worlds. Savage Worlds I see a lot at conventions. So that's another game system that I think is very, very popular out there. It's probably better alternative than 5e. Yeah, I would think so too. I think that Shadow Dark is probably a better alternative for 5e. Yeah. Like I bought the box set of the RuneQuest that just came out, like the RuneQuest starter set, because it was fairly cheap, and I'll never run that. I just wanted to. I mean, I still haven't even started reviewing it at all, but I'll probably never run that. I've never been in a game that is short. Yeah, 3 hours though is enough time to do a session. Dragonbane is another one that I think will be popular at conventions. Waiting to see at some of the larger conventions to see how many people are actually running it. But I know a lot of people run Dragonbane in their home games. A very, very popular home game. I am running DCC Linkmar game. Yes. Yeah, unless you change like I think sometimes people have different concepts of what a campaign is. So Shadow Dark, what I'm doing with my Shadow Dark game, my campaigns, is that I'm running them through the Cursed Scrolls. So once they have either revealed the entire map, they've done the hex crawl across the entire map, or they've gone from levels 1 to 10, and that ends the campaign. And then they roll up new characters, or I bring in new players, and we'll do another Curse Scrolls, or we'll go and do something else. What is Act 2? Acts 2. So that is Adventure Conqueror King, second edition. So that is this monster here. It's a absolutely beautiful books. All right. So Alexander Macros is the is the principal author, and again, absolute beautiful books, and you can kind of tell the density of the rule system and everything. This is not a game system, I'd say, for the inexperienced. It's something that you're going to go with experienced players that are very familiar with a variety of game systems. But yeah, that's like the pinnacle of domain play, high level play. Is very domain, which I just finished saying, is very high level player character gameplay. So you played with Greg, yes, at North Texas last week. Eric and his wife were in the game. We were the only survivors. Yeah, so he had a lot of deaths, right? They mentioned that. They mentioned they were the only 3 survivors out of what, eight players or something like that. So or out of 7 players or whatnot. So yeah, it was not quite the carnage of a Frank Metzner game, but but still right up there. Actually, at page 2, I had 7 players and 4 died. So there were only 3 survivors of that game as well. And then the very next running of that adventure, I had no character deaths, almost 2. Well, actually, at one point, almost 3, but at the very last scene, almost 2. And that was the first time that any group of players managed to get through the entire adventure with no character deaths. So yeah, I mean, you could run the same adventure over and over again, and you could have very, very different outcomes just based on what players do at a convention. Yeah, in the country. What time zone are you in, Death Angels? It's totally different. I worked remote as well. You can compartmentalize your work from your time on the computer. Trust me. The 2 years that everybody was remote, at work and at home, that's when gaming really did take a boom. Like it blew up. Chuck runs an awesome game too. You're going to have a great time with it. I don't know. Well, I'm not a Patreon. I'm a member on their. I'm not a Patreon member of theirs. I'm a, but I do back it on Twitch. So I don't know if that counts as the same thing. I played with Chuck before, and I'm sure we will again at some point. So But listen, if you jump on my Discord, and if you're ever looking for a game, and I don't know what your time zone is or whatever, but if you're looking to play anything or you want me to run something for you, you're welcome to join in on a game. I've been looking to start up some GM plus ones, so just myself, one player. We play for very short sessions, like 1 to 2 hour sessions, virtually any game system that you want, as long as I have it, which I have a lot. Um, and yeah, we could get some. That will certainly get you used to some short gaming sessions. But yeah, completely online. So I will put my Discord here in chat. So let me get to my page and let's go to invite people and let's copy, and that's good. So anybody's welcome to join my Discord server, and this one is good for 7 days. So, but you can just click on in there. Just tell me you're coming over from the live stream. Death Angel, just let me know if you're when you're free, and if you want to play in any of my game sessions. I'm looking for somebody for my Saturday Shadow Dark game. I do need one more player for that. So you'd be welcome to do that. Jump in on there. And let's see. All right. And good to see you off grid, by the way. A forest must be nice. Yeah. And so let's see. And let's see. Hey, Dominic. All right. So I am going to make you guys, I'm going to add you as players so that you will be able to see a lot more. Add a role, player, add a role, player. Okay, awesome. Welcome to all of you. Yep. So, yeah, I just made you all players on there, so that will open up a lot of the different windows and everything for you. And then if you're looking to get into any of the games, just let me know. Again, I'm running 3 different campaigns. I'm starting up a Castles and Crusades that's going to start on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Then on Friday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I am running AD&D First Edition campaign. Now, my Tuesday and my Fridays are kind of full. My Saturday Shadow Dark game, that's 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Shadow Dark is not full. I have room for more players in there, and that's a classic hex crawl kind of game. So you're welcome to jump in on that, and that would be cool. For my GM plus ones, I am looking to run those Eastern Time again, but in the mornings, because that's when I'm really free to do short sessions in mornings. So those would probably be from anywhere from like 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. kind of short sessions, and really open for a number of different game systems. I had one person reach out to me and said, I'd like to play either Traveler or Star Frontiers. I was like, even though I have both, I've never run Traveler, never even played Traveler other than character creation. So I said, I can run you through Star Frontiers, no problem. And those will be short-lived, short sessions and short mini campaigns. No. Yes, I have the 2022 Traveler as well. I do have it, and that's probably a little bit easier to access than the original, which I also have. But yeah, I'd be willing to take a look at that and to do that, because to me that's I can convert what I did for Star Frontiers to 2022 Traveler easily, very very easily. So that's a possibility. I could do that. That's Mongoose Traveler. I don't know about as soon as next week, but certainly the following week, I could certainly come up with something by then. Depends on what load you're firing. I'll go with small game load. you know, I gotta tell you, my first time, my first time firing a shotgun, 12 gauge, was going target shooting, whatever they call it, the clays, shooting clays, and I did pretty decent the first time. It was like competition too. You were on teams and everything, so I did pretty decent. I hit like 60 out of 100 clays, so I was pretty happy with it. But the whole time it was just kicking me in the arm, and I had, I mean, it was like I had like it was like black, bruised, and scraped up and everything like that. It was like I had no, it just wasn't, I wasn't padding it up over here. I didn't have like the shoulder pad on for it either. That eventually got afterwards, but it was just killing it right here. And it looked like I had like it was like a black bruise with like a cut in it. It was like he has like a black vagina on his arm, from from the damage that I just caused firing, 100 rounds from that thing. I was like, oh, this is brutal. But yeah, well, like I said, I think I did halfway decent, 60 out of 100. But but that was nowhere near what was needed to. There was one team that was like their average was like 90 out of 100. I gotta cook something for my daughter, but I'll cook. I would guess. Yeah. Oh, giant squirrels. I have clay shot. Yeah. Favorite non-Greyhawk module. I'm trying to think of which ones. I mean, B2 is not necessarily set in, like those earlier D&D modules weren't necessarily set in Greyhawk. I mean, most of us ran them in Greyhawk, but B1 and 2 were not, they didn't get established in Greyhawk until later, like the return of Greyhawk until like second edition. Then they started putting those in Greyhawk. Um, Not too many AD&D modules were set outside of Greyhawk. Probably the TSR Conan novels, and modules. Those are the only ones that I can think of that weren't set in Greyhawk. Nice thing about living in the country, Memorial Day, we were on the front deck shooting cans in front yard. Yeah. Richard, several days later, I'm like, what the hell happened to my shoulder? Oh, yes. I was blasting 2 days ago. Yeah, I mean, it's like when it's your first time and you don't want to admit that you're killing yourself with it. Um, you know, that's what happens. And it was a charity shoot run by like the sheriff's department too. So it was like I was surrounded with nothing but cops and everything. So it was kind of embarrassing. But I was like, I listen. I went from gate 1 through 18, no problem. Going through the whole thing, and they were like, this is my first time firing a shotgun, and it was like I said, 60 out of 100 was not bad for a first timer. I beat some of the guys on my team that were less, but now I'm a veteran, and they weren't, but still, they were much more experienced, with shotguns than I was. I would never. I mean, you have to wear it and everything like that. But even when I was in the army, I used to only half put them in. I never had a problem with firing and putting in not having the hearing protection all the way on. Um, I never had that issue. I know it's probably a stupid thing to do or whatnot, but the only time that I really felt I needed ear protection was firing a 50 caliber. Um, but other than that, like with an M16, I never cared. Yeah, it was never. It's not that loud. You know, um, Firing pistols. I mean, all the sound is past you anyway. Um, yeah, shotguns are loud. Shotguns are definitely loud. Um, I fired a Tokarov once. That's freaking loud as hell too. That thing was firing a round that was like this freaking long. It was like an anti-aircraft round they were firing out of a Tokarov. Um, but AK-47's allowed too. But yeah, but an M16 is not loud. At least not in my mind. It's not loud at all. Yeah, Forgotten Realms fan. I was never a Forgotten Realms fan. That's just just me. I wasn't a second edition guy. Like I said, second edition caught during the time that I was in the military, so it wasn't really a thing for me. Yeah. Well, I never had mid range hearing to begin with. It's something I just got from my father. Um, So that was one thing. I almost didn't get into the military because of that. The two things almost prevented me from the military was that no mid-range hearing in the one ear and virtually flat feet. I mean, I had to beg the guy at Fort Hamilton intake to let me in. I was like, please. He was like, your feet might break, and I was like, I'll deal with that when it happens. But I really wanted in. So he kind of looked the other way. It was like he put a note in there, partial flat foot or something like that. It's like he had to cover his own ass, but he let me enlist. I never had a real problem with it at all. I'm 58. So anyway, um, so let's see. So getting back to convention prep, because that was the point of this and everything. So yeah, my prep is yeah, I doubt that, Chubby. Um, my prep is pretty much done. I'm virtually packed. I have my all packed up. I just have to put my whatever you call it, my toothbrush and that kind of stuff. That bag of stuff for the bathroom in there, and I get to load up my diabetic medicine because I'm an old bastard and need to keep that going. And then, but my games and everything are ready to roll. Thank God I'm only running 2 game systems too, so I'm really excited to just run 2, running them both tomorrow, and then Sunday morning I'm hoping to get through that that game session Sunday morning. Yeah, I've been to a few concerts that were very very loud. Um, let's see. The loudest I saw Wasp opening up for Black Sabbath. But that was Black Sabbath with Ronnie James Dio, not Ozzy. And then I went to Twisted Sister concert. That wasn't too loud though. I mean, not very loud. I would probably say Wasp and Black Sabbath was the loudest concert I've been to. Yeah, that's probably the loudest that I've been to. Yeah. I was watching an interview of his like the other day where they wanted him to, I guess, his solo group to open up for Black Sabbath, and he was like, "I'm not doing that." I was like, or Black Sabbath. No, it was when he was with Black Sabbath, and they wanted him to open up for Ozzy, and he was like, "I'm not opening up for Ozzy. There's no way." Can you see the prep? No, my players might be watching it. Um, let me see what I can share. Um, so one thing that I did was that I like to do is I printed out the pre-gens. So there's pre-gens and then there's plenty of blank character sheets for the Shadow Dark, and for Fallout that the players can use if they choose to roll up characters. For Fallout, I'm having them roll up characters because I want them to get that portion of the gameplay. So I thought it would be best for them to do that, but I also make copies of the pre-gens if they're dead set on using pre-gens. So that's one of the preps that I do. One of the other preps that I do is I made like a cheat sheet of just the basic rules, and some of the token dynamics for both game systems that I make copies of that. So I have about like 6 pages of basic rules for Fallout for the players that I made a packet copy for each of the players at the table, and then the adventures themselves. I have them on my iPad, and then the images of like the maps and everything when they reveal an area that they happen to be in, then I can just expand the image of the map on the iPad so they can see that. So they can see this is the room that you're in, this is what it kind of looks like, and then the rest of the time is like theater of the mind. So I'm not doing anything with miniatures or that kind of thing. They don't have the maps on the table. This year, I started really just the last convention I went to, which was just last weekend. That's when I started using the imagery on the iPad rather than putting the map pieces out in front of the players. So I think that actually works a lot better. So that was one of the things that I had to prep. The other thing that I learned to do was, you know, I let my players walk away with the character sheets. You know, I think that when you're playing in someone's game, you know, when you're at a convention, you want that memento. You know, even if the character dies, you want to go home with that character. And so I put it on like 60 weight paper stock, and you know they have a nice little memento for them to go and let them take that as well. And then let's see what else did I do for it. um yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. That was like all of my prep was just getting the basic framework of both adventures done. Now the one, you know, it's like the 11th time I'm running it, so I didn't need to do that with the Shadow Dark adventure. But for the Fallout adventure, this is the first time I'm running it at a convention, so they're kind of my guinea pigs too. So I'll see how it goes and see. Um, I'm just looking to have a fun time with it, and I'm hoping they have a fun time with it. Um, I'm looking to, because none of the players have ever played the game system, so they're really interested in the play system, and so I'm trying to make it as fun for them as possible. So I'm going to give them a lot of, you know, chances to get those, you know, the caps. I have all the caps that come in the box set. The box set is perfect for that. I just wish the box set had a map for the adventure, and the adventure that's written in there is not written for. I mean, it's written to teach players the system, but it's too big to use at a convention. It's certainly something that's going to take several sessions to get through. So I wanted to create something that was just really excellent for the experience that I'm looking to do. I used the word excellent because it came out of, I was reading this here and it just stuck in my head. Excellent answer. Great prep ideas. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's my pleasure. And welcome. I don't recognize your name. You might have been here before, but welcome anyway. And yeah, it's a, you know, I think that giving the players like the basic rules and such, or your homebrew, like I have homebrew rules that I use with Shadow Dark that I, you know, give to every single player. You're welcome to take this home with you as well. And that's just to create a system with the token system that Shadow Dark does have, but to make it more in line with Conan 2D20, because originally that adventure was written for the Conan 2D20 momentum system. And so that's something that I modified Shadow Dark in order to make that adventure much more dynamic, much more cinematic, and at the same time, I could really amp up the challenge because the players do have so many opportunities to spend those coins to roll with advantage, or um, to add a second roll to it, or to go with max damage or whatnot. And so I don't want to reveal too much because I don't want to, you know, this is the last group that I'm running through that adventure, and I don't want to tip anybody off if they happen to actually be watching this tonight before we run this game at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. So, wow, it's just about 12 hours away, and I'll already be at the table by this time. So 12 hours from now, I will be at that table and getting ready to run Shadow Dark. That's pretty exciting. Yeah, first time here, so welcome. You know, make sure that you subscribe and everything, and I will put in here, join my Discord if you want. I'll put the Discord here. I don't push my Discord enough. So there's the Discord. You can join Discord there, and I will give you a tag as a player, and that will give you access to any of the games that I'm running. And you know, if ever you're free in the morning Eastern time morning hours, like typically between like 9 and 11 a.m. In the mornings, and you want to just try out different game systems and everything like that, I can run a GM+1 in a lot of different game systems. So anything that you can pick out behind me, you know, I could certainly run something just like within a week or two I can put something together just to let you experience one of those games if you wish to. Hey, Off Grid, good to see you. And I'm sure that you've gone into the Discord since then, but I put an announcement up there. So Tuesday night is we are to the Castles and Crusades. Friday night back to AD&D First Edition. Saturday night back to Shadow Dark, the Wolves of the North campaign. So all three campaigns, starting up again after the 2 weeks or even 3 weeks of being away from it. So getting right back into the big thing. And then early July 8th through the 14th, I'm on vacation. So the 8th, I believe, is a Tuesday. So that week I'm not going to be gaming, but I am back by Monday. So the following week, be right back on to regular game schedule there. And let's take one more look at, hey, Michael, how's it going? Well, Michael is in Discord. So, and Michael's going to be at the convention. He's probably already at the convention. So, yeah, I wish I could have gone there today. I just had too much to do at home before I could do that. But anyway, all right, everybody. So I will be doing a from the card, an off script roadway tomorrow morning as I am setting out there, and maybe I'll do another one as soon as I get there. After game session 1 from 10 to 2 o'clock, I'm going to have that 4-hour break, and I'll see who else wants to join me on a live stream, so we can live stream from there, or we'll do a video from there. I'm not quite sure which I'll do. Probably do a live stream from there. So everyone, thanks for joining in. You have a great rest of your night. Have a great weekend coming up. If I'm going to see you at the convention tomorrow, I can't wait to see you. And if not, I can't wait to see anyone else, especially those that just joined my Discord. And I'll be happy to game with any of you. Just let me know when you're available and what games. Like I said, I do have some room on my Shadow Dark Saturday evening games, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Is generally when we start gathering together, and we usually launch by like 8:15, 8:20-ish or so. We go right into the gaming at that point. But any of you are welcome to join, especially that game, because that's a hex crawl. So you can come in, you can come out. It's not like a thing where you have to be there every single weekend. So anyway, you all have a great one. Thanks for joining, and as always, just keep those dice rolling. Keep on expanding your horizons, playing different types of games and different genres, different game systems, and just keep the hobby alive by expanding your own experiences within it. All right, you all have